Hey people, it's Niaz Toki. I just want to do something different. And this is a book I got. It's called Tales from Africa. It's basically a children's book, but written by KP Kojo, which has taken all these stories from Africa. So I'm going to read them. This is one called The Rebirth of Andriambahoaka, a Sakalava tale. So here it goes. In the days before we were, the days before today, the earth's creatures were all mixed up. You could be a crocodile and a grasshopper, a crockhopper, or a snail with the red blood of a lion. A snail. It was hard to tell whether a creature was just by looking, because a snail, for example, looked just like a snail, although it could roar at night. However, it was possible to tell which creatures stayed on one land, one-landers, and which ones lived on many, as birds do, birdlanders. This tale is about both, a bird with a human heart called Ivorombe, and a human king with the eyes of a lemur called Andriambahoaka. Mother bird Ivorombe was a large and unusual bird. She had an orange-red bill that weaved through trees like a flashing light when she passed through a forest. She had a white-tailed streamer that drew loops as she flew, and a streak of pink on her back. Her eyes were particularly striking with black eye patches over her white feathers that made it look like she was wearing spectacles. Her bill wasn't just colorful, it was big, with a large bottom for storing food and other useful things, a bit like a pelican's bill. In fact, Ivorombe is the grandmother of herons and tropic birds and pelicans. One day, Ivorombe was flying home from a visit to her cousins in a far-off continent when she felt her eggs grow heavy in her. She needed to lay them right away so that she wouldn't lose them in the ocean. Luckily, there was an island close by, and she flew there, swooped around to find a safe place in the forest, far from the humans who lived on the island, and made a strong nest of twigs, grass, and leaves. She laid her eggs, tucked her tail streamers beneath her, and sat on them. For weeks, Ivorombe stayed on top of her eggs. Her body kept them at just the right warm temperature to hatch, and she fed herself food from she had stored in a large bottom of her bill. She had corn, she had fish, she had rice, she had worms, she had beans, oysters, and she had insects. Each day she would pick two to mix and swallow them from the pouch below her bill. Her favorite mix was beans and fish. Someday a human would come in the forest to pick from the beautiful flowers that grew in there. Bursts of purple, orange, indigo, white, red, blue, and yellow, or to check traps that they had set to catch meat. Ivorombe would keep very still and silent until the person left, which wasn't easy because she was a very large bird, the size of a human and a bit more. But Ivorombe was not really a singing sort of bird, so she didn't attract too much attention. Also, the other birds in the forest, who understood Ivorombe's desire to protect her eggs, helped her. They were the singing sort, a bunch of lively birds, who had the kind of music and chatter that humans tried to catch and hold on to. Rainbow cockatoos, green finches, chameleon parrots, violet vangers, moonbright starlings, and four-toned flufftails. Under the birds, the Beepo became good friends of Ivorombe, and some evenings the odd couple would natter until the moon framed the small Beepo sitting on the shoulder of Ivorombe, who remained unmoving on her eggs. The Beepo was Ivorombe's main source of news. That was because he was of a fitry sort. In fact, he was the grandfather of the hummingbird. The Beepo was really a hoopoe with the muscles of a bee, and he loved sucking nectar from the abundant flowers close to where humans lived. As he flitted, he gathered both nectar and news. It was the Beepo who told Ivorombe that the island she had laid her eggs on was ruled by a king called Andriambahoaka. He had been a good ruler, but he had no children. Almost all the young women on the island had been married to him, but when no children were forthcoming, after a while they left him. A strange thing was that when they married other men, they had children in no time, so the old women now said that Andriambahoaka was cursed, and they tried to keep their daughters from him. But because of his liquid lemur eyes, nobody could say no when he stared at them. The cold ring that ran around the pitch black of his pupils seemed to contain a spell that called people to do his bidding. Weeks later, 2 of Ivorombe's eggs hatched, but the third did not. When it showed no sign of cracking, it was the Beepo who suggested something should be done. "You need to leave the third egg so you could care for the 2 chicks," said the Beepo. "If you stay there, the 2 babies you have will die, and we don't know if that last one will hatch." "What if I don't sit on it, this it won't hatch?" "What if it takes too long?" Ivorombe was quiet, her bright bill tucked against her wing. "You need another bird to sit on this one," said the Beepo. "It might hatch in 2 days." "You need a big bird, one that can cover the egg properly." "I'm sure it will hatch in 2 days," insisted Ivorombe. "What if it doesn't? These 2 will starve. You don't have enough food left in your bill." The bird friends pondered in silence until the sky darkened, and the crickets and crockhoppers started their soaring and whistling. It would take the Beepo 4 days to fly to Ivorombe's land to ask one of her family to come and sit with the egg. If one of Ivarombe's kind coming back would take 2 days. That was 4 days to go and two to come back, making 6 days. But 6 days was too much. I have an idea, said the Beepo. We could pay a human to do it. A human? Yes, a human. A human would be big enough to sit on the egg. But they won't destroy it. But won't they destroy it like they destroy everything? They won't if you pay them. I know of a good maiden. But what can I play with? The pearls left in your bill from eating oysters. Humans like those. We could pay with those. Ivarombe was not completely sure, but she felt she had no choice. She counted 15 pearls and gave them to the Beepo. There was a woman from the village who could sit on the egg for Ivarombe. She was one of the 4 maidens on the island who had not been married to King Andriambahoaka before. This was because she was short and the king's lemur eyes could not look down, so he had never noticed her. Her name was Langoria. The Beepo knew her because she had been kind to him once when he was injured near the village. She was skilled at counting backwards, balancing, wrestling, weaving, climbing, catapult, shooting, and running. Her ability in climbing and balancing made her a perfect caretaker for Ivarombe's egg, as the mother bird's nest was high up on the largest ebony tree for miles. As soon as the Langoria arrived in the forest with the Beepo, she tied her hair into 5 tufts on top of her head, climbed to the top of the tree, and took over from Ivarombe. While Langoria was on the egg, Ivarombe fed her 2 chicks and flew them over to her land. When after 4 days the eggs still hadn't hatched, Langoria began to feed on the ebony tree's jackalberry fruits, which was sweet and filling. On the 7th day, while talking to the Beepo, Langoria heard a crack. She shifted off the egg a little, saw a clear zigzag line in the shell. The Beepo hovered excitedly, flapping his wings faster and faster. There was a second crack, then a cry. Langoria tilted her head, and the Beepo slowed his wings down because the cry sounded like a human cry. The maiden crawled away from the egg, stood in the nest and watched as a human baby girl, the darkest, most beautiful, chubby baby girl, emerged from the egg. Langoria rushed forward and picked her up, wiping the egg white off the baby's body, while clasping her off with strong, climbing hands. The Beepo fluttered around then, checking to see if the baby had any feathers or wings or if her mouth looked anything like a beak. The baby cried louder and louder until Langoria held her close to her breast. She stopped crying and placed a 5-fingered hand on Langoria's chest. Maybe she's fully human because you hatched her, said the Beepo. Langoria looked up. What will her mother do? I don't know. She can't fly. A bird's baby that can't fly is a problem. We'll just have to wait for Ivarombe. When Ivarombe did not return that evening, Langoria fed the baby from her own breast. The next day, the Beepo helped Langoria build a platform lower down the ebony tree to protect the baby from the sun. The platform became the baby's home. The Beepo made her a blanket from elephant grass, and Langoria wove a strong bed from bamboo shoots. They took turns foraging food from the jungle for the baby. They fed her baobab pap, hibiscus, nectar, red bananas, and a drink made from 4 o'clock flowers, and coconut water, which helped with singing. Ivarombe's journey back home took longer than she expected. By the time she had settled the 2 hatched chicks and introduced them to her family, 2 weeks had passed. When she returned, her 3rd child was already sitting and imitating the songs of warblers and violent wangers. Andriambahoaka was, of course, stunned and astonished. She was dished. But the baby smiled and sheltered under her wing immediately. She will be called I mate Sonala, said Ivarombe proudly. She is my heart come alive. The giant bird turned to Langoria. Since she cannot fly, I would like you to be her companion, look after her when I'm away. Langoria nodded. She had already fallen in love with baby I mate Sonala and would have stayed to look after her, even if Ivarombe was not giving her pearls as a reward. The Beepo, excited, flipped back and forth, left and right. One big family, he chirped. Sonala grew fast on the ebony tree platform. Her mother taught her to hunt and weave and how to land safely when jumping for a great height. When she got jealous of the perfect pitch singing of the green finches, Ivarombe told her not to get jealous. You learn from creatures that are better than you, she told her. Jealousy doesn't teach you anything. From Langoria, Sonala learned wrestling, counting, climbing, clothes making, balancing, and running. From the Beepo, she learned about all the poisonous fruits to avoid in the forest and how to sow seeds and help plants grow better. By the time she was 12, she was much part of the forest as the orchids that clung to the top of the high trees. Her mother Ivarombe came and went every 6 weeks, and every so often she brought Sonala, bird brothers and sister from the other egg to visit. But she loved Sonala fiercely, and each time she left her behind, she would say to Langoria, keep her away from people, please. I don't want her to be taken from me. One afternoon, when Ivarombe was taken away, King Andriambahoaka Andriambahoaka was walking through the forest when he saw Ayamatsunala gathering sweet hibiscus juice at the Bibo. He stopped in his tracks, fascinated by her radiant beauty and carefree smile. Whose child is this? He asked, turning to face his servants. Whose child is this? Bellowed one of the servants. As the question echoed through the forest, Langoria, who was close by, rushed to the king. She fell on her knees when she recognized the king. My chief, her mother is away, but I am her caretaker. Who is speaking to me? Said Andriambahoaka, whose gleaming eyes could not look below his belly. There is a woman at your feet, my chief, said one of his servants. Andriambahoaka dropped to his knees to address Langoria. This girl is dark and plump and has the most amazing smile I've ever seen. Never have I seen a girl so beautiful. I must have her as my bride. Langoria shook her head. My chief, I plead with you to let this girl be. Her mother is the fierce hunting bird Avarombe, and she would fly into the most destructive rage if she knew that the girl has been near people. Please let her be. But she is so beautiful, said Andriambahoaka, fixing Langoria with his golden gaze. If you must, my chief, but she's not of age now. Come back when she is old enough and speak to her mother. Andriambahoaka returned to his palace over the next few years, spoke of no other thing than the beauty. Then he spoke of the beauty of Ayamatsunala, the girl he was going to marry. She had hair shaped like the setting sun. Her smell was that of the finest musk. She was the shade of the dark of dusk. Her smile was as playful as a lion club. She was plump as a young baobab. Her skin was the texture of silk. She had the color of coconut milk, and she had teeth the color of coconut milk. Her voice was like the starling's song. He spoke of her so much and with so much love that he was won the blessing of all his subjects to go and get permission to marry Ayamatsunala when she was of age. Even his two wives agreed, but it was because they wanted to see this girl that Andriambahoaka could not stop talking about. Andriambahoaka and his servants returned to the forest bearing gifts. There was gold, cloth, and soft fruit, bedwalk and silver, rice and corn and beans. Andriambahoaka marched towards a giant ebony tree to speak to Avarombe and ask for Ayamatsunala's hand in marriage. When he got to the tree, Avarombe was away. Langoria, too, had gone with the beepo to collect hibiscus nectar. Alone on the platform, wearing a new cover for their grain store, weaving a new cover for their grain store, was Ayamatsunala. Andriambahoaka couldn't help himself. My sunshine, my dusk, my beautiful flower, I've waited this day for years. I'm hopelessly in love with you. Will you be my bride? Ayamatsunala looked towards the sky to see if her mother was on the way home. My chief, thank you for your kind words. I'm very flattered, but I think it would be better for you to forget me. I can't forget you, protested Andriambahoaka, just as Langoria returned. Langoria climbed on the platform so the king could see her. Why are you speaking to her? I pleaded with you to let her be. I can't, said the king. My love, you must come with me. My chief, you must let me be. My mother will tear you to pieces if you run off with me. Besides, what king wants a bird of prey for a mother-in-law? Andriambahoaka shook his head. I fear nothing, sweet maiden. My love for you is so strong that I fear nothing. He stared at her with his deep lemur eyes. Langoria tried to plead with the king some more. My chief, please wait until my mother returns. I do not feel good about this. Please wait. I can wait no longer. He held Ayamatsunala's hand. Can we go? So Avarombe returned to find her daughter gone. She flew into a fiery rage and set off after Andriambahoaka and his servants. But they had prepared a distraction for her. Along the route away from the ebony tree, the servants had scattered rice and corns and beans that they had carried as gifts in many directions. Avarombe, who could no longer tell which way they had gone and didn't like to waste food, collected the grains and returned home. She was furious. She sat up in the ebony tree and cried, heartbroken that her heart could desert her like that. She cried and cried until she was calm. The Bebo flew up to join her, and they talked late into the night. Maybe it was so bad that her daughter Ayamatsunala was getting married. She was, after all, human. However, the next day, when Avarombe visited the palace, she saw that her daughter already trying her wedding dresses and weaving headdress. She flapped her wings in anger. I taught you how to weave, she said again and again, as she petted her own daughter. Have you forgotten me already? She flayed Ayamatsunala's skin and plucked out her eyes. Still fuming, she flew away with the skin and eyes and hung them on the platform while Ayamatsunala had grown up. Her daughter was left skinless and eyeless. At the palace, King Andriambahoaka had been waiting to present Ayamatsunala to the people, but only as his bride. He wanted to unveil her at the wedding. After Avarombe had taken her dark skin and eyes, it was painful for Ayamatsunala to go out into the sun, so Andriambahoaka built a special shadow chamber to protect her. He visited her every day. They spoke for hours and hours. He told her everything he had been taught about his kingdom, and she taught him all she knew about birdsong, making beautiful harmonies with her voice that echoed in the corridor of the palace. Sometimes he carried a tray of red, black, and green berries, wore a blindfold, and played and guessed the berry games with her.